Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see everyone tuning into the chat already. We have some people coming in from all over the world. All of you are drinking some delicious sounding beverages this morning. So keep telling us where you're from in the chat. It's one of my favorite parts of this webinar. And before we get started, there's just a couple housekeeping notes. If we haven't met before, hi, my name is Danielle. I'm a registered herbalist and holistic nutritionist at Sigmatic. I head up our education. And yes, isn't this a dreamy background? We have a new background today. This is actually called our Reishi room. So I'm in Venice, California, which is where our Sigmatic headquarters is. And we have a really, really fun short webinar in store for you. We're going to be making coffee. We're going to be doing giveaways. I have polls for you. I really want to make sure we're all interactive and just here and having a good time together. So yeah. So happy you're joining. Thanks, everyone. So before we jump in, let me just give you some details about what we're going to be doing. If this is your very first time joining an Elevate Everyday series webinar, this is a free quarterly live platform. We share unique, quirky, unconventional ideas that work. And today we'll be talking about elevated swaps for a healthier spring. Our focus will be on elevating one of the most common morning habits of people worldwide, which you probably guessed it, is their morning coffee. If you're curious about other swaps, please bring those to the table as well. We'll be dedicating 10 minutes at the end of the webinar to a Q&A where you can ask me anything. So save your questions and make sure to drop them in the chat in that last 10 minutes here today. These are always recorded and uploaded to YouTube after the event. So if you have to jump off early or you're interested in webinars in the future, but you can't make it live, always sign up. That way you'll get a link to the recording in a follow-up email the next day. And as a little thank you for being here, we will always create a discount code for you. And today the discount code is webinar22. And this will get you an extra 15% off your first shipment of a new subscription or an additional 15% off your existing subscription if you're already a member. And we opened up this webinar for all EU and US and Canadian Sigmatic customers and interested folks today. So we have people from all over the world, which is so exciting. And just letting you know, this discount code is applicable whether you're in Europe or you're in the States or you're in Canada. As I briefly mentioned, I'll send you all a follow-up email tomorrow. So this will include the link to the recording on YouTube. It'll have the discount code. It'll also include a little post-webinar survey because I really want to know what you love about these, what you want more of, any feedback so we can keep improving these for future events. And if needed, I activated subtitles for this webinar. So if you would like to see the full transcript written out as we go along, you can click live transcript. It'll be at the bottom of your screen and then select view full transcript. And if you want to change the size of the font, make it bigger, you can do that as well. Just clicking that live transcript again, and then you click subtitle settings. And you can change the font size by toggling the bar at the top of the settings window. And I'll just drop this in the chat as well, so you all know if that was confusing. You can read back over that. Quick disclaimer that I always have to remind you all, even though I'm in the health world, I'm not yet your personal healthcare provider. So what that means is if you have a specific question about your personal health concerns, please hold off on asking or see if you can ask in a more general way so that I can both answer as best as I can and so that others here can benefit from that question. One more mention about the chat box. This is so fun. A lot of you are active in there. This is really one of my favorite things about live webinars. You get to connect with each other throughout the event. You can share thoughts, questions, commentary, and that all happens in the chat box. And to participate in the chat and make sure that you're active with one another, make sure to click on the chat icon. So it's at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little chat box, and then toggle the blue bar so that it's set to everyone. And this way, everyone here will be able to see your chats, right? It's visible to the whole group. So many of you are writing in, which is awesome, but you're just writing into me. So if you want to chat with everyone else, toggle that down to everyone. That said, if you do have a personal question or you don't want your name seen by anyone else, totally fine to leave it as all panelists and only myself and our team here at Sigmatic will see your question. We do have our team here today on the back end. So if you have a pressing question, you can ask that in the chat throughout. But again, hang on to your question if you can, so that we can answer it in that Q&A period at the end of the webinar. Okay, cool. Yeah, you're welcome for the subtitles and inclusivity. Right on. So before we jump in, I just want to gauge all of you and see if you've been to webinars before. Maybe you're seasoned at this. Maybe this is your first webinar. And so I'm going to launch this little poll right now and just let us know. So just in like 10, 15 seconds, let me know if this is your first one. Oh, awesome. So many of you are participating. I'll give it like 5 more seconds. Oh, the scales are so split here. This is very exciting. Okay. A few more tuning in. Cool. I'll end the poll. You guys can see that, right? Can you see the results here? Yeah. So we have about 38% of you that have attended before and about 63% who are new. So in the chat, welcome everyone who's new. Really happy to have you here today. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to kind of jump back and forth between screen sharing and not, so we can make coffee and do all these fun things together today. But can we see this? We can see the screen. Let me see in the chat. Yes. Okay, cool. Right on. So elevated swaps, functional coffee. Before we jump into this elevated swaps theme, I always like to remind us of why we're here, right? What are we doing all together on this Wednesday morning or evening for some of us in Europe? What are we doing? Why does Four Sigmatic exist? And our goal, our mission here is to help people achieve elevated wellness. Okay, I think of elevated wellness like if our body is a cup, when we are so full, right? That means that our stress is low, our immune system is functioning properly, we have enough energy, our brain is working optimally, we've had proper sleep the night before, our nutrient needs are met. And so in that place, we are elevated, right? We are full. And really only from that place can we overflow and show up, right? Show up for our partners, our family, our work, our community, whatever that looks like. We can only really show up and it not deplete us if we're coming from this state of fullness, from an elevated wellness, right? We have more than enough so we can give. And so we want to make sure that we're supporting and we're helping each of you get to that place of elevated wellness. And there's lots of ways to achieve that, right? You can achieve it through, breath work or meditation or your exercise or yoga practice. At Four Sigmatic, our avenue, our lens to help you get to this state of elevated wellness is using the world's most nutrient dense ingredients. So all of our ingredients, and I have this beautiful wall behind me of Four Sigmatic foods and products, and every single one is plant-based, organic, incredibly clean formulas that promote physical, mental, and emotional well-being, and overall are helping protect our bodies against the stressors of modern life. This is probably the most common unifying experience among all of us right now, is there's a lot of stress. And what these adaptogens and functional mushrooms are primarily doing is supporting our bodies to get out of that state of acute stress so that we can show up in this place of elevated wellness. If you're new to Four Sigmatic, quick plug, we started in Finland in 2012. So we're celebrating our 10th birthday this year. We're a decade old, but more to come in that in May. We'll be doing lots of fun stuff for turning 10. Okay. And we put the fun in functional, right? If you've been around for a while, we're really quirky and fun. And after all, we're talking about mushrooms and adding mushrooms and quirky plants into our coffee and elevated routines. And so we want this to be fun and accessible and exciting. And how we do what we do, this mission of elevating wellness, is upgrading staples, right? The theme of today's talk is elevated swaps. And swaps meaning replacing something that you do consistently. This is so key when it comes to Four Sigmatic, because the ingredients, the world's most nutrient dense ingredients, you can't just take them once and then expect to experience all these awesome benefits like focus and energy and lower stress for weeks to come. The consistency is where we're really going to see that difference. So the swaps are thinking about what we already do every day and how we can elevate them, right? How we can add these super functional foods and mushrooms into existing routines. So the two big categories of functional ingredients that we focus on and we'll be talking about today, I want to make sure we have the lay of the land and understand these words, are number one, adaptogens. Okay. Really briefly, we could talk for 3 hours just about adaptogens. Adaptogens are a group of plants and mushrooms that are non-toxic, so they're safe to take every day. They're non-specific, which is really cool. It means they're not directly energizing or sedating, but they have a balancing and normalizing effect in our body. Pun intended, they help adapt to our body's needs, right? Many of our functional mushrooms are adaptogens. This other word, functional mushrooms, they are, so some of them are adaptogens, but I want to just clarify that these aren't just any mushroom, right? Fungi are their own kingdom. These are a very small subset of fungi that are traditional medicines that support things like immunity, focus, performance, stress, and sleep. And if you haven't seen them before, I always like props. Any guesses in the chat what this is? This is one of our functional mushrooms. People often think this is lacquered or plastic or something, but this is real. This is a real functional variety. Okay, let me open the chat here. Turkey tail reishi. Tawny, you are correct. This is a reishi mushroom. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. So we use these functional ingredients, right? Incredible, almost magical ingredients, we say. They've been used for thousands of years. We add them into daily routines, and we know that in order to make something consistent, it has to be delicious, right? It has to taste good. It has to be enjoyable. So that's really what we're going to get into today. And one of the most common routines, right? If we think about how we add these to things we do every day, what do we all do every day? And in the States, the figure is somewhere around 70% of Americans drink a cup of coffee every single day. But I want to see if that's relevant for all of you. So I am going to do, I never shared the results of the last poll. Okay. We're new with all these polls. I'm going to share these results, and then I'm going to launch my next poll with you guys. See how many of you drink coffee. Interesting. If we can find our next poll. Maybe let me know in the chat if you're a coffee drinker. Let's see. Yes, love coffee. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, weird. I don't know where my second poll is, but that's all good. Oh, I found it. Okay. We're going to launch this poll. Let me know if you drink coffee here. Yes, there's a few options. Yes, you drink coffee. It's for Sigmatic. Yes, you drink another functional or mushroom coffee. Yes, you drink regular coffee. Coffee's not for you. Just get an idea here. Just a few more seconds. Okay, right on. Okay, I'm going to, so many of you are still voting. Get little votes in there. Okay, sweet. I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to share these results with all of you. So we know, can we see this? So about 70% of you already drink for Sigmatic coffee, 2% another functional coffee, 22% regular coffee. So of us here, 70, 80, like 90+% of us drink coffee. This is pretty standard. So what an easy way to elevate something that we already do every day, right? We don't even have to think about it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why functional coffee, right? Remind you of what you're doing right, why there's so many reasons, there's so many benefits. And in the meantime, I'm just going to start this water because we're going to actually make some coffee. We have our whole bean coffee to show you. But let's really get into the why. What are we doing with coffee? So the first thing, I still get asked this all the time, maybe you all do too, is what does it taste like? Right? Do you guys get this question? Mushroom coffee? What? I don't know. Does it taste weird? And so we have to start with, this is real coffee, right? There's lots of coffee alternatives out there. We are using 100% organic, fair trade Arabica coffee. This is delicious. It tastes like coffee, right? It is coffee. And furthermore, the functional mushrooms that we add in there, I have another one to show you. This is chaga. I didn't let you guess. I just got way too excited to tell you this is chaga. This is a real conch of a chaga from birch trees that we go out and wild harvest. This is in the majority of our Sigmatic coffee. These are the type of functional mushrooms, right? These aren't the umami culinary varieties. So they don't taste, they don't look, they don't act like mushrooms. When people hear mushroom coffee, they might think of this like slippery portobello on a pizza. That's not what we're talking about here, right? We know these are adaptogens. These are traditional natural medicines. These are functional species that taste a lot more bitter and earthy, which is like what coffee tastes like, right? The upgrading of the daily habit. We have hounded this over and over again. We have to think about what we do consistently already. It's almost impossible to start a new routine and then be consistent with it for months or years. But if you have a routine, upgrading it, guaranteed to be successful. Best of the best ingredients, right? So not only do we want to make sure that our additional functional ingredients are clean and organic and potent and bioavailable to our body, the beans themselves are incredibly high quality fair trade beans, right? We have the story of the farmers on every bag. So really making sure that we're fueling ourselves with the highest quality ingredients possible. Then it gets really exciting. So when we add functional mushrooms and adaptogens to our coffee, there's this amazing synergy that takes place. Okay, so if you think of our adrenals, right? These right above our kidneys, our adrenal glands, one of the main sites of hormone production in our body. Think of when we drink a stimulant like caffeine, it signals areas of our body, including our adrenals, to pump out different hormones, right? We're going to give us this quick fix, this sense of adrenaline and cortisol, and be able to really do all these things quickly. And what happens is we get that quick sense of energy, and then a few hours later, we crash, or our body goes into the state of depletion. We get a little anxiety, we have jitters, and that's kind of the downside, the dark side of coffee. What happens when we add these adaptogens is they're tonifying to sites in our body like the adrenals. They're balancing. And so if you think of those adrenals like a cup, think of caffeine or a stimulant like taxing and pulling and draining the cup, and then functional mushroom species like adaptogens refilling that cup. And so what we experience from that is you don't get a crash. You don't get jitters, right? You're not leaving your body in the state of depletion by the end of the day. Really, really cool. You get to keep your coffee, skip the negative benefits. Chaga is also slightly alkaline forming. It makes it way easier on your stomach. So many people are like, I love coffee, but I hate the acidity feeling on my belly. Chaga is able to help balance that out. And then we haven't even gotten to these effective functional benefits, right? And so we'll go through our 6 functional coffees, plus highlighting our whole bean, which is really like something so exciting that we're going to make today and talk all about and answer all your questions about. But the benefits of these ingredients, right? Each serving of functional coffee is getting you a full supplement dose, right? A 500 milligram supplement dose of ingredients to support your immune system, your stress, your brain function, focus, physical energy, and the list goes on. So whatever you are looking for in that cup of coffee, we want to hone in on that, right? Make it more effective for why you're drinking it in the first place. Okay, so without further ado, I really want to talk about this whole bean coffee. I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen here and just let's make a little coffee together. Let me open up the chat and see how we're all doing. Okay, cool. Yeah, lots of great questions. Thanks. I'll get to all of those. But has anyone tried this yet? Write it in the chat. This is our best seller. You've probably tried our Think ground coffee, right? Which has been around for years. It's a beloved Sigmatic product. And so many of you, I can't even count how many times I was asked, can we get this in a whole bean, right? I want this to be customizable. I want to grind it myself. I use espresso. I want to, thicker grind to make a cold brew. Okay, right on. Yeah, a lot of you have ordered it. If you haven't ordered it, we're going to do a little quick giveaway because why not? we have these really fun canisters, which is one of my favorite ways to store our whole bean coffee. It's an airtight, it's called Airscape. Maybe you've seen it. So it like traps everything in there and keeps the scent super fresh. It keeps the beans really fresh. And if you want one of these and a bag of whole bean coffee, just say I want one in the chat. We're going to be exporting the chat later. I'm going to choose 3 of you and I'm just going to send you a combination. Yes. Cool. So funny. I want one. I love it. Okay, cool. You guys are the best. So if you haven't seen our whole bean, let's do a little comparison here. This is our traditional ground lion's mane and chaga mushroom coffee. So you can see kind of the grind size. It's like a medium thinner grind. And now this is the whole bean. So if you ordered it and you haven't tried it, it's really incredible, right? What we've done is we've roasted the beans and then literally just coat them with the same lion's mane and chaga extract. So you can see, it's kind of tough through the Zoom, but you can see, and like if I kind of rub it around, there's a little bit of chaga that gets left over, the residue on my hands, because it's just coated onto the beans. And so this leaves it to be really, really customizable, right? You can do whatever you want with this. And a reminder that all the mushrooms are pre-extracted. And I'm bringing that up here because that means they will dissolve in the water. So whatever method you're brewing your coffee in, the mushroom extracts will dissolve. They're water soluble. So you'll get those benefits. And then the whole coffee grinds and whatever grind size you choose will be left behind in your filter or your French press. Yeah, trying mine in cold brew, right on, Amber. So yeah, that's it. So I'm going to show you how to do it. It's pretty customizable. So make it as you will. But we are going to use, I'm going to use 5 tablespoons of coffee. Here's my spoon. And I'm going to grind it. I just have like a classic Bodum grinder here, but you know, do this in any way you please at home. 5 is the recommended, but again, it depends how much you're making. Sometimes I find this can be really strong. So you might want to just, you know, it's real coffee. So however strength you use, whatever amount of tablespoons in other coffee, you can do it the same. All right, it's going to get loud here for a minute, but we're going to grind this up. I got too anxious. It's like exploding out of here. Okay, so I'm going to use a French press today, really easy. But again, for French press, I like to use a little bit coarser grind. And you'll see kind of what 5 tablespoons looks like. And then I'm actually going to fill up this French press. I don't like my coffee too strong. So this could be just for 12 ounces, like a 1.5 cups, but I'm going to let it sit full French press, about 20 ounces of water, and set a timer. I like to steep it for 4 minutes. So we'll get that going. Cool. Oh, chocolate covered coffee beans. You guys are getting crazy in the chat. I love it. Okay, so as that's brewing, I'm going to go and share my screen again. Just want to remind you why this coffee is so incredible, right? We call this Think Coffee, your brain's best friend. If you drink coffee to wake up your mind, to get emails done, to cruise through your to-do list, this is the coffee for you, right? Instead of just having this overall energy and stimulation and kind of rush going through your body, we really want to focus in on why we want that coffee, which is the mental support, the focus, the cognition. And that's what this incredible ingredient in here, lion's mane, is supporting with, right? So adds a productive oomph to your day, supports cognitive function, whole body wellness, and really elevating this coffee routine. The coffee beans in here, this is the same as the whole bean, or the same as the ground. So the ground and whole bean coffee are coming from Pacayel Coffee. This is this really cool family-run co-op in Honduras, 5,500 feet above sea level. It's fair trade, organic agriculture only. And then, of course, the functional mushroom ingredients. Reminder, we use real mushroom fruiting bodies. This is where the magic, the medicine is. always grown on woods, right? Remember these species, they grow on wood out in nature. We believe nature knows best. We take it from our Finnish ancestors that were brewing chaga tea for centuries and all of the herbalists that came before, and really turning to nature instead of growing these in any sort of, laboratory or sterile new environment, but really ingredients as nature intended. I'm so passionate about that personally. So for example, the chaga is sustainably wild harvested out from birch trees from the largest birch forest in the world, the taiga. Okay. So we have 2 more minutes on our coffee. Wanted to show you, I don't have a lion's mane picture here, but this is what lion's mane looks like. How cool is this? If you haven't seen this before, it's this beautiful white cascading fungus growing off the side of trees, incredible for all sorts of mental and cognitive support, focus, thinking, like a hug for your brain. We add it into so many products that we label think, to really give us that benefit of productivity, memory, learning, focus. And then of course, chaga. This is pretty similar. We can do the real one here, right? Chaga, when you wild harvest it, right? When it's actually coming from nature, growing off birch trees and extracted properly, this means that it has the highest antioxidant properties, the highest antioxidant content of any species on the planet. This is absolutely insane, off the charts. Antioxidants are so critical for our immune health, for fighting free radicals, which are released all the time. Free radicals are when we exercise, when we're in the sun, when we age. I mean, it's inevitable. So flooding our system with high antioxidant content is absolutely essential for overall well-being and especially long-term immune support. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Oh, I want to share this with you all. I'm going to, let's see. I did want to ask one more question. I know the chat is popping off and we're going to get to Q&A here in a moment, but if lion's mane think coffee is not for you and you have other needs or other reasons that you want to elevate your coffee, we hopefully have you covered in this lineup of ground coffee. So in 5 more seconds, we're going to have this ready to be pressed and we'll take a little sip together. But after that, I'm going to share. Okay, that's our timer. Okay, I'm going to stop this share. We're going to press this and then we'll get into a few other coffees and some Q&A. Oh, the Perform is great. Yeah, Mona, good point. Okay, so I'm going to pour this up and I'm going to show you what it looks like. I wish I had a clear glass so you could really see. And I'm going to add creamer today. You could drink your coffee black, but we have functional creamers if you haven't tried these as well, which are delicious. I'm going to go ahead and use the Balance. It's the original flavor, original coconut, which is super delicious. And if you do use the creamer, add it in first. I find it dissolves a lot better with the coffee. In all 4 Sigmatic products, we never use fillers or dissolvents or things to kind of like help it dissolve in different temperatures of water, which is why I'm going to use 3 spoonfuls. You can use 1 or 3. But if there's like a little bit of clumpiness in there, that's actually a really good sign. It means that there aren't things like maltodextrin and acacia gums and different additives, because coconut milk, which is the base of this creamer, plant-based creamer, is naturally rich in fats. And so we want, fats and water don't mix that well. So a little bit of clumpiness is actually a sign that this is a real whole food. So I just put 3 spoonfuls of creamer and we're gonna get this coffee going. I'm gonna do a small froth. You don't have a frother. This is my favorite tool. Okay, and that's it. That's whole bean coffee. This is it. It's kind of like, there we go. Delicious. Isn't this a cute coffee cup? A local ceramicist made this. Yeah, thanks, Jessica. Okay, cool. So that's it. I'm going to sip on this coffee while we chat. Makes me want to go make some. Yeah, go make some. And before we get to Q&A, I want to run through a few other options, as I mentioned, if the think is not for you. So we really have bulked out our selection of ground coffees. There are the green category, which in all 4 Sigmatic products is Defend is immune support, right? Preparing your body, the foundational needs of your body to go take on whatever else your day has in store. So we have a gut health, which is incredibly rich in prebiotics and probiotics. There's 1 billion CFUs of a really cool heat resistant strain of probiotics. It's called Bacillus subtilis DE111. It's kind of a mouthful. And prebiotics. So awesome, as well as turkey tail mushroom, amazing functional mushroom for the immune system and gut health, which really go hand in hand, right? Remember, 70% of immune cells live in our gut. So supporting our gut is supporting our immune system. Then we have a straight up immune support coffee. This has vitamin D coming from mushrooms, of course, as well as chaga. It also has zinc. So these are great regular caffeine. So a standard amount. Obviously, the caffeine levels will change slightly based on the temperature of water, the size of your grind, how long you're brewing for, but they have about 100 milligrams of caffeine per cup. And then in our perform category, we have, of course, the Think that we are drinking, bestseller, so many of our favorites. That's why we're really focusing on it as a key elevated swap if you need like one thing to choose. But if you have a day in store where you know your body needs a lot of energy, you need that extra kick, you need that physical endurance to get through your day, we have this red coffee here, which is Perform. It has higher caffeine. So we've actually added green coffee bean extract. So it increases the caffeine content. Cordyceps mushroom, awesome functional mushroom for body and endurance, oxygenating the bloodstream, giving us energy without any stimulant effect in that cordyceps mushroom. And then L-theanine. So this kind of helps balance out that extra caffeine and the cordyceps. L-theanine is a really cool amino acid. It's naturally found in green tea. This might be familiar to you from there. So that kind of calm wave state that you get from green tea, that's what we're simulating with this Perform coffee. And then finally, I love this Restore category. We have a balanced coffee. This is half calf. So if you love coffee, but are really prone to the jitters or that crash later in the day, or you just might be more sensitive, this is a great way to still get coffee, but a full dose of some of our favorite plant and fungi adaptogens in there. So chaga, ashwagandha, tulsi or holy basil, so a full lineup of adaptogens to support the body's stress and bring about balance. And then last but not least, I mentioned this in the very beginning, this is what I was sipping on this morning. I drink it every morning, is our Chill. So it's a full decaf. There's many ways to do decaf. We use what's called the Swiss water process. And it's really amazing. There's no chemicals at all used in decaffeinating the beans. So it's just time and temperature that are used. And what happens is basically with the green coffee beans, before they're roasted, it goes through this with water and time and temperature decaffeination process. And you could go to our website or Swiss water process and kind of look at all the cool videos about how this works. But this happens before the coffee is roasted. So 99.9% of the caffeine is removed. Then it gets roasted. So it still retains that bold aroma, the flavor, the scent of delicious coffee. None of that is compromised in this decaf. And then, of course, our king and our queen of mushrooms are in there, our chaga and our reishi. So many options, regardless of what your day has in store, what you're doing. These are all ground again, but the whole bean makes it even more customizable. So our kind of wish at Sigmatic is to make it as easy as possible for you to get these most nutrient dense foods on the planet into your morning routine, right? Elevate that morning period and really make it as rich, as full as possible, like flooding our body with these powerhouse ingredients that were revered, right? They were inaccessible for so many years, reserved for only the emperors and kings and queens. And now we have access to them. So feel really lucky to be able to use them, to have these at our fingertips at a time when I think we need them more than ever. Okay, so lots of things about mushroom coffee here. I want to know, before we get into the Q&A, one more question from you. If maybe a friend has asked you this before, but how do you describe mushroom coffee to a friend? It's my last question for you. Okay, yeah, lots of questions. Earthy smooth, cool. A lot of you are referring to the taste. Yeah, tastes like coffee. Fabulous and healthy. I love that, Greg. Cool. Yeah, always curious about that. Oh, Kristen, you're here. Hi, Kristen. Kristen says, I hate mushrooms like the ones on pizza, and I love mushroom coffee. Can't taste the shrooms. That's an awesome way to describe it. Healthy pre-workout drink. Right on, right on. Okay, cool. And I know there's lots of questions. I have my wonderful teammate Connie here with me today. So without further ado, I think we'll open it up and see what questions you all have today.
Okay, first question is from Donna. How are the mushrooms sourced and extracted?
Oh, Donna, this is such an important question. There's really 5 big things to look for when purchasing functional mushrooms. The first is, what part of the mushroom are you getting? This might seem weird, but there's actually a few parts that are sold in the marketplace today. So one of them that we'll find often is mycelium, which is essentially the underground root system of the mushroom. The second is what's called the fruiting body. That's what's visible to the human eye above ground or on the side of trees. And this is the real mushroom, the mushroom itself. And this is the only part, the fruiting body is the only part our ancestors had access to. So the several thousand year history of these mushroom species is on the fruiting body. This is also where modern research, clinical trials has the most efficacious compounds for our health. These things like energy with cordyceps and brain function with lion's mane. So the real mushroom is absolutely critical for our health. So that's number 1. Number 2 is what your mushrooms are growing on. As I mentioned, these functional varieties primarily come from trees out in the wild. And so if we think about, if you're a meat eater out there, if you think, or even if you're not, this is pretty common to us. If we think about what the cow, for example, has been fed, if it's been grass fed and free range, we know that the nutrient quality of that meat is going to be different and higher quality than a cow that's been raised on foods it never evolved to eat, right? Things like different grains, substrate like rice and corn and oat. Same thing with our mushrooms, right? We share about 50% of our DNA with fungi. One of those main similarities is the way that we get our nutrients, the way that we absorb food. Fungi can't photosynthesize like plants. They need nutrients from the outside. So getting them off trees, off woods, feeding them what they evolved to grow on is critical to ensure you're actually getting the real deal that's going to contain beneficial compounds. So we source all of our mushrooms on logs or actually go out and wild harvest them. So be really wary if you see like other ingredients and it's a grain when you're buying a mushroom, to never grow on grain. So real mushroom, log grown, and then extraction. The word extraction has to be on your package, on your label, or you can do this yourself. But these mushrooms are totally inedible. You can see they're very hard and conky in this form. So they have to be extracted. There's a compound in the fungi cell wall called chitin, same compound found in crustaceans. Think of like a lobster or shrimp shell, really indigestible for our body. It's not bad, but it's almost like insoluble fiber, right? It'll just act like a brush through our intestinal tract. So the word extraction will ensure that that chitin has been broken open and all the beneficial compounds are available to our bodies. Real mushroom, fruiting body, log grown, extracted. And then the 2 bonus for those top 5 things to look for are organic. It's really, really critical with mushrooms. They are bioaccumulators, so they can absorb a lot from the medium they're growing from. So they must be organic. But even beyond that, they should really be third-party laboratory tested. So this means that every ingredient goes out to a separate a separate lab, a separate facility that is testing these ingredients for things like molds, yeasts, mycotoxins, pesticides, heavy metals, irradiation. And of course, at Sigmatic, we do all of that with every ingredient and final batch. So if we're ever out of a product, rest assured, it's because we're making sure it's as clean and potent as possible before offering it to you. But those are the big five: real mushroom, log grown, extracted, organic, and third-party lab tested. If you can cross those off the list, you are good to go. You have a high quality product that your body can utilize. Okay, next question. Thank you for asking that.
Jocelyn would like to know, what health benefits does a lion's mane and mushroom add to the coffee?
Awesome question, Jocelyn. Lion's mane is the mushroom for the brain, is a quirky way to remember it. It actually does so much more than that, but for today's purposes, we'll keep it simple. There are two really incredible compounds that have been studied in this mushroom for neuroregenesis. It actually has these iracenes and uracinones. They can activate, it's called nerve growth factor. It's actually a somewhat newly discovered compound, but NGF, and it activates NGF everywhere in the body. So helping with nerve growth, nerve restimulation. But these compounds are also light enough to cross the blood-brain barrier. So it can do this within the brain, which is why we talk about it for all sorts of cognitive support, like productivity and learning, focus, memory, which again is why so many of us drink coffee in the first place. Great question. Lion's mane for your brain, spark notes.
Patrick would like to know, how do you get the mushrooms to stick to the whole bean coffee? The chaga and mushrooms don't come off in the grinder?
Yeah, really good question. It took us 10 years to figure this out. So if you'd asked about this again and again, we thought that we would need some sort of agent or adhesive or adherent or something. And we're really against that, right? We never add fillers or anything to help with like dissolvability or stickiness. It's just real whole food ingredients. We're really, really passionate about keeping our ingredients clean and just real whole recognizable foods. And so we cracked the code. We tried many times, and it's honestly kind of embarrassingly simple, but all that happens is the coffee beans are roasted, and then we use the elements of time and temperature. So there's a certain window where time and temperature are used, and then while the beans, after they've been roasted, are cooling, we just coat them with these chaga and lion's mane extracts, and they stay on the beans. It's pretty simple, and only 3 ingredients in there. And again, these extracts are water soluble. They've been pre-extracted. So those will, obviously like scrape everything out of your grinder, but if they are getting to the water, they will dissolve in the water so that your body can use them.
Okay, Bonnie, what is the best way to brew? What type of device? French brew Ninja coffee maker with a mesh basket, paper filter? Any advice?
Oh, Bonnie, it's up to you. This answer is the reason that we make so many different varieties of coffee, that we do pre-ground and whole bean. Is I could tell you a perfect way, but it needs to be the perfect way for you. So rather than like, okay, this is going to be the absolute best way to make my coffee, I really encourage you to think about what's easy. What do you already do? Like that's our whole philosophy. There's always, best practices. If you were to take these as, just a single extract of reishi, for example, I'd tell you, take it 30 minutes before food or water in the morning and last thing at night, away from any other meals or drinks, like for highest absorption. But really the thing with these functional ingredients is consistency, is using them day after day. That's where they begin to build up and we really experience the benefits in our body. They're known as tonics. This is the way they've been used for thousands of years. So what is going to be consistent for you, right? What's going to be easy? How do you already make coffee? What do you already have, right? Maybe it's like you don't have to go out and buy a new device or a new filter or a new grinder, just what works for your routine. And that's what I encourage doing, right? Make it as simple as possible.
Amy, any recommendations for which type of grinder to use? Wondering if this would be too sticky for a burr grinder. if it would necessitate cleaning the grinder more often. Thoughts?
Good question. Use the grinder you have. Again, I am using, oh, I can't take it out here, just like a classic Bodum grinder, but up to you. Yeah, this is a simple question, but again, customizable, make it easy, whatever you have, make it work with that. The coffee beans, they're not super tough to grind. I don't think you need anything special or fancy. So whatever you use for other whole bean coffee should work for functional mushroom whole bean coffee too. Let's do like one more question. You all are awesome. Okay, maybe a few more. You're all staying. If you do have to hop off, I know we're at time, so feel free. Reminder, I'll send you an email tomorrow with the recording of this, and we're always here for questions. So I'm happy to hang out, answer a few more questions, but our amazing support team loves chatting with you all. You can email support@Sigmatic at any time. We're here for you. I'm here for you. So if you have questions, just please just reach out. And just want to thank you all so much again for taking the time out of your day to learn a little bit more about adaptogens and functional mushrooms and the benefits of elevating your coffee. And I hope that we can enter into this spring season feeling elevated, feeling like even with just our morning coffee routine, we are doing something really powerful to nourish our bodies, to reduce our stress response, to support our long-term immune health, to activate our minds with that productivity support. Like, there's so much that these ingredients are doing to support us. And so just give yourself a pat on the back, right? For being here, for being curious, for taking that step. And yeah, we're here with you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, I'll stick around maybe if there's maybe one or two more questions, but if you have to hop off, no worries, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening or rest of your day. Okay.
So Clarissa, I promote it as my pre-workout drink. What specific coffee do you recommend for pre-workout?
Yeah, this is a good question. If you drink caffeine pre-workout, I definitely recommend switching to an adaptogen or functional mushroom coffee pre-workout. But I guess it depends what you're looking for. I'm really holistic minded. And so I never want to stimulate you too much before a workout and then risk the possibility of having a crash later. So, if you do have a really big day in store, we did create the Perform coffee for that purpose, which has cordyceps. It's a really powerful pre-workout, but I do want to say the disclaimer that I never want you to be reliant on something to achieve certain workout results, right? So it's like, if you take cordyceps, sometimes you feel like superhuman before working out, and you're like, wow, I just beat all these records. And then if you don't have the cordyceps, you're like, dang, I'm not performing as well. So I never want you to need something to achieve a goal. So that said, I would actually encourage post-workout. So especially with the Perform coffee or anything with cordyceps in it, doing it post-workout to really refuel. And then you'll experience better results in your athleticism long-term. So try it to feel the benefits, Perform coffee before, see how it affects you, and then know if you kind of switch to post-workout, you might achieve greater results over the long term. So it might take a little bit more time to get there, but you won't be reliant on it. You won't need it. And you'll really get those results you're looking for over, your training period of a few weeks or months.
So Kathy wants to know, if we use turkey tail as a supplement, would I still get a medicinal dose by drinking a cup a day?
Yeah. So does she mean she takes a separate supplement of turkey tail? Yeah, great. So make sure whatever supplement you're taking is the real fruiting body, right? That's been log grown and extracted. And then the dose is really dependent on your body. So when it comes to the dosing of functional mushrooms, there's a range. It's really kind of the low end range I recommend if you're getting, right, we have to make sure we're talking apples to apples. So if we're getting a fruiting body that's been double extracted and then spray dried, which is what's in Sigmatic products, the low end is around 500 milligrams per serving, which could be per day if you're new to using these species. And the high end, where we really see the benefits plateau, So it's not as if you take too much and can experience negative side effects, right? These are non-toxic, they're normalizing, they're balancing. So you can't really be pushed over the edge with these functional species. But what can happen is there's like a plateau. Your body just can't use more than a certain amount. And so that higher plateau amount is somewhere, depending on the mushroom, with turkey tail around 5 or 6 grams, 5,600 milligrams. That's like a high studied dose in like clinical trials. So 500 to really like 500 to 2 grams is probably the range that you would stick in. And again, it's not based on like age or gender or weight or these things we might think about. It really is more, what's the state of your body when you're approaching that functional species? How stressed are you? How healthy is your digestive tract, right? How many other things are you eating per your probiotics? And so it's bio individuality, right? There's many things that are unique to your body that's going to affect your dosing. And so I always recommend start on the low end for about 5 days to a week. So you start with 500 milligrams of turkey tail a day, do that every day for about a week, and then you can check in with your body. Our bodies are so brilliant. There's so much wisdom. They're constantly giving us messages, and it's just up to us to tune in and listen. So 500 milligrams, few days, and then slowly build up by about 200, 250 milligrams. So then the next week, you might take 750 for the next 5 days. The next week, so you're on week 3, you would take, you would be at 1,000 milligrams, or maybe you cut back. So, right, play within that range, listen to your body, and then just make sure, the supplement you're taking is high quality so that you are actually reaping these benefits. And we're talking about the same thing here, but wonderful question.
Okay, Mark, I like instant. What else happens to the coffee beans to make it instant? Is there a potency difference?
Yeah, great question. So you can see up here, we have instant coffee as well. This was actually our first coffee product. And I like to say half calf, double the benefits. So the big difference with our instant coffee is it's half the caffeine of a full cup of coffee. So there's 50 milligrams of caffeine per serving. They are in single serving packets that you can take on the go. So these are great for like camping or backpacking or traveling, and they dissolve in water. Otherwise, the same 2 functional mushrooms are in this. So it has lion's mane and chaga as well. But the instant actually has an additional adaptogen in every product as well. So in our think, it also contains an adaptogen called rhodiola, which is, oh my gosh, I could talk to you for an hour about rhodiola. We went to Iceland together as a team this past summer, and I was like on the hunt for rhodiola because it grows in some of the most extreme places on the planet, like Iceland. And it's this beautiful succulent. We use the root of this succulent called rhodiola. It's incredible for brain function and stress and immunity. And Vikings would actually use it to help them like get through the long winters, right? To help their immune system and this endurance. So really, really amazing, amazing functional adaptogen that's also in the instance. But as a category, instant coffee, half the caffeine, they still have 500 milligrams of functional mushrooms or adaptogens in them. And then we have 3 categories as well. So we have one that's more of defend with chaga forward. The think that I just shared with lion's mane is the key. And then an adaptogen focused with ashwagandha. Okay, cool. Yeah, you all have so many more questions. I wish I could stay with you all day. Let me just cruise through here. Yeah, cool. Glad we answered that. How long is the shelf life if unopened? That's a really good question. Yeah, all of our 4 Sigmatic products have about a 2-year shelf life. That said, these really help extending the shelf life. I don't actually recommend putting your coffee in the freezer to extend the shelf life. That can actually, the moisture content can increase the risk of the coffee going bad sooner. So just leaving it out on the counter, sealing it up, putting it in an airtight container. Yeah, if it's open, I mean, ideally you use it within a few months, but the thing with functional ingredients is they'll lose potency over time. So it's not necessarily that there's like a point that it's going to go bad, but that the longer it's left out and exposed to that oxygen in the air, it'll slowly lose its potency. Think of like, your kitchen culinary herbs, similar type thing. So the canister is not available for purchase yet, Caitlin, but email us and we'll see what we can do to help you out. Okay. I think that's it. I'm so grateful so many of you are still here. Really, really thanks again for your support of For Sigmatic. I'll send you a follow-up little survey tomorrow. It's quick, it's 10 questions. I just want to know what you love, what you want more of, help plan the next one of these, and hope to see you next quarter. Really so awesome. We have such a powerful community here. I hope you guys learned something and are motivated, and just have an awesome, awesome rest of your day. Keep drinking your functional mushrooms and take care for now.